welcome. We are just going to give a couple of minutes for everyone to join us, and then we'll jump right into content. We have so much to share today. Feel free to say hi in the chat. We love to know where you all are joining us from. Hello, Mary from Virginia. Welcome. Kirsten from Indiana. Hi. Alaska, West Virginia. Oh, fast and furious now. South Dakota. Oh, Puerto Rico. Hamilton, Montana. I am from Havre, Montana. Hi, Arizona. Okay, we got you guys coming in from all over the place, and we are going to have a really great conversation about how we can use gardens to combat food insecurity, no matter where you are. We are joined today by our expert education specialist from Kids Gardening, Sarah Pounders. She's got a lot of content that she's going to share with you, and then we're also going to hear from two Head Start programs who were GroMoreGood grantees, and they're going to talk about how they used their garden programs to make a difference in their communities and combat food insecurity. We will provide these slides to you. They'll be in our follow-up email. So don't feel like you need to, scribble down a bunch of notes. We will get this to you. We're also going to have a resource page. So all the links in here will be easy for you to access after the fact. And as you noticed, we are recording today. So this presentation is all going to be made available to you after the fact. So breathe easy, try and take it all in, and know that you will get a chance to refresh on it. My name is Rachel Hutchison. I am a senior associate here at the National Head Start Association, and I work on instructional practice programs such as gardening. So I'm very excited to bring this to you today. We are going to do a Q&A at the end. So we highly encourage you, if you have a question, jot it down in the chat. We will be pulling those out, and we're going to save time at the end so that our Master Gardener, Sarah, and our two programs can answer any questions that you have. Okay, that's all our housekeeping. Without any further ado, I'm going to hand it to you, Sarah.
Thank you so much. So we've kind of gone through this webinar agenda already, so I will jump right in. Welcome. This series is part of the GroMoreGood Head Start Grant Program, which is a partnership of NHSA, the Scotts Miracle-Gro Foundation, and Kids Gardening. And it involves putting together resources and getting more Head Starts out in the garden. So we're just going to skip over that and this real quick because we do have a lot to get through. And I am sorry, Rachel, I forgot to ask if we were going to do the poll questions, if we had those loaded up, or are we going to skip those today?
I do indeed. No, we got them.
Okay. So we'll start out today with a poll question just to get an idea for who's on the webinar. Trying to see if please answer if you're a staff member, if you're a program director, a curriculum specialist, if we have any family members or parents on, and just let us know. Everyone a chance to sign in there. All right, looks like it's about stopped. So looks like we have lots of educators and program managers on today. Thank y'all for joining. Let's see. The next, next up, we just were trying to get an idea for how many of you guys are already gardening. If you're currently gardening in your setting, if you have gardened before in the past, maybe not right now, maybe if you're gardening at home, or maybe if you've never gardened before, get an idea. looks like we got a very good mix going here of everybody from all different sorts of experience levels. So that's great too. Good to know. So hopefully we'll cover some things that everybody will be interested in seeing today. So my name is Sarah Pounders. I am an education specialist at KidsGardening. KidsGardening is a national nonprofit organization, and our mission is to provide opportunities, inspiration to help kids so that all kids have opportunities to learn, grow, and play in the garden. And we do that by offering resources to educators, to families, to community volunteers. I personally have been gardening in different capacities with kids for about 25 years now. And some of my favorite experiences are those in the early childhood settings, because the kids just are contagious with their excitement. So what I would like to start off with is just kind of an overview of food gardenings and edible gardenings, and kind of share some tips and related to that, and some things that if you are thinking of putting together an edible garden, or if you really want your garden to be targeting food security issues, these are some of the things that you will need to think of as you're planning and preparing for your garden. So first of all, like on the broad scheme, I always feel like I'm preaching to the choir when I talk about the benefits of food gardening, because they seem so obvious, but there's many ties to the curriculum. It really does. It's everyone says that it's true that if kids grow their own fruits and vegetables, they're more willing to try it. So it builds excitement with the kids, with their parents and supporters to be growing food, because people just think it's an amazing thing to be able to see it go from seed to seed and seed to table. There are a lot of social and emotional benefits with growing your own food. And in addition, it can provide this foundation and inspiration for local food access. Now, your capacity to actually grow enough food at your center or at your site or in a community garden, if you're working in a community garden, might seem small for how many people that you'd like to impact for it. But one of the biggest things is you are inspiring people. You're showing these kids and the families that they have the ability to grow their own food, and you're giving them knowledge and experience doing that. And so it can just multiply in great and amazing ways that you can't even imagine. So what some of the things, if you're getting into a food garden and starting an edible garden, that you need to keep in mind is that food gardens do take a little bit more time and care and maintenance. A food garden is not one you can leave for 2 weeks without it. Generally, depending on where you live, of course, but in general, you can't leave it for 2 weeks without watering it and expect it to completely survive. So it's a little more sensitive to weather and then other environmental conditions. So it's something that you do need to take into account for. Another thing that I always like to tell people right from the start with food gardens is to be realistic with your harvest capacities. Start small, dream big. So start small with the idea that you are going to grow fruits and vegetables, for instance, for snack time or for tastings, like inviting families in to do tastings at pickup time, perhaps. And then dream big that maybe someday you have enough fruits and vegetables to send home with your kids on the weekends, or to do recipes at a family event. Or even to be able to have enough fruits and vegetables to add to your lunch. So you can start small, but grow big. And we also need to remember that when we do our gardening with food gardens, that we have to consider in a few more of the safety considerations. And so I'm just going to kind of go through those first. So a little bit of the safety that you might need to think about if you're doing an edible garden versus some other kind of garden is you do need to kind of learn the history of your site. You want to make sure if, for instance, if the property you're on might have some kind of contamination in the soil, it's not that you can't start a vegetable, an edible garden on your site if you have something like that in the history. It just means that you may want to do it in containers or in raised beds. So if you're worried about the potential of that, you want to conduct a soil test. And a great place to learn where to get a local soil test would be from your local extension office, cooperative extension office. There's usually one in every county in the United States, or sometimes there's counties that group together. So there's a regional office, but they'll be able to provide you information about your closest soil testing facility. You may also need to test your water source potentially. So think about that on maybe in the pipes and in your water that's available. Also look around your surroundings. For instance, if you think you might have a lot of animal guests to your site, be aware of that and what else might be going around. Also be careful when you're obtaining compost and composted manures, just make sure they've been composted properly. And like I mentioned, exclude animal visitors as much as possible. I know it's not completely possible, just as much as possible with an edible garden. So what can your food garden look like? There's lots of different ways, and there's no matter what site you have, even if you don't have any outdoor space, you can have an edible garden that the kids can enjoy and learn from. So kind of just going from the different types that are available, a raised bed is something, for instance, if you're concerned about your soil, it offers more growing space. Did I skip one? Yes, I did. Sorry. Whew. Okay, the beginning. So where you might want to start is a good way to start would be container gardens. They are the easiest way to get started. You can use big, small. One of the easiest ways is to use 5-gallon buckets that you can get. Look for food grade 5-gallon buckets. You can purchase them. You can also a lot of times find them donated. A lot of restaurants get some ingredients in those, and so they come food grade, and you just drill some holes in the bottom of them. You can have complete control over the soil you use. You can grow just about anything in here. This picture right here is a picture of, these are Three Sisters gardens. They're actually growing corn in containers. I mean, how much bigger can you get than corn? You can grow tomatoes. It just depends how many plants you put in the pot. That's really the determining factor on how you may just need. If you're growing larger plants, then you would need more containers. If you're growing smaller plants like a lettuce or herbs, then you can fit more in each container. Other types of containers, you can even use straw bale gardens where you use straw bales and scoop them out and put a little bit of compost and soil in there. You can also use, containers that were meant to be containers like clay pots or there's all sorts of things. They can be inexpensive. You can put them on wheels so they can be moved. They're ideal for if you want to extend gardens home and send something home with the kids to use, to be able to give them a small container garden to use that they could put on in a yard, or they could put on a patio or on the front porch step, all sorts of things. So kind of the next step up would be a raised bed. Again, you have control over the soil content. You have a little bit more growing space. You can make them all sorts of different heights depending on what accessibility you're concerned about. And they're available in a wide range of materials, from wood to recycled plastic to using pavers or bricks or stones, depending on what kind of budget you have to spend. Another, if you have it available, if you have land available, you can do in-ground gardens. That can be less expensive. It depends on the soil quality. You might have to do a little bit of soil building. You potentially, I will say, with in-ground gardens, weeds can sometimes end up being frustrating. But as long as you mulch and you clear it out and you keep after the weeds, this can be a really good example. And I have a link here that'll be in the resources about doing a lasagna garden, which is when you layer the soil. So you're actually building on top of the actual soil by building it up by making compost. So, and the details are in there. And if you have no outdoor space, don't forget that you can also grow plenty of edible plants indoors. You can grow things, if you have a windowsill that's facing usually to the south or the west, those are that have the brightest light, you may be able to do herbs and greens such as lettuce. You can also invest in some grow lights, such as either of these, that can increase the amount of light you have available, and you can grow all sorts of things, even things that are fruiting like tomatoes. If you have strong enough grow lights, that can work. You also have hydroponics as an element, which is a lot of fun for the kids to see, is to see the plants growing in water. So what you want to think about when you're doing your food garden is you want to make sure that you're selecting plants that grow well in your area so that they're easier to grow, you have higher success. It's great if you can grow things that your audience is interested in eating and trying. And you can find out that information from a simple survey or from a focus group to kind of get ideas from the kids and their families. You want to make sure that it will complement your program schedule and capabilities. So if you only have certain times of the year that you can grow, you can pick your fruits and vegetables based on that. Also consider your growing season. So if you have a shorter growing season, if you're further up north, and you might want to do things that harvest pretty quickly, like lettuces and radishes. So those go for a short growing season. If you have a longer growing season or you have warmer weather, you might have time to grow the tomatoes, or if you're growing through the summer, if you're there during the summer. So those are some things to consider. And another thing to consider with which fruits and vegetables you end up growing is whether you want to start from seed or if you want to have transplants. Also think about who you have to help you maintain them. I just have some ideas for some really easy things generally if you're getting started with edible gardens. First of all, greens, lettuce, and kale, that's really easy to get started with because it grows super quick and you can harvest it a little bit at a time. So, and you can also add to it. So if you're trying to get a classroom salad, you can also add in and throw in some additional lettuce then. If you're doing cool weather, you have things like cole crops, broccoli, radishes are super easy. They're great. They're ready in 30 days from the time you put them in seed. Green beans are another one that are really easy. Sugar snap peas. Some easy to grow warm season vegetables are beans and cherry tomatoes. Cherry tomatoes are usually a lot easier just because they're smaller and take up a little bit less space. Pepper, sweet potato, basil, cilantro, mint. So just throwing out some of the easy things to get started. Another thing to think about with your edible garden is to make sure to make it fun. There's lots of ways to make them fun, including adding a theme like a pizza garden, a salsa garden, or connect it to a book, tops and bottoms, olives, vegetables. There's tons and tons of books that you can connect to your garden. Another thing I wanted to add in, and this has to do with working with food security issues, is to make sure to connect it to home to get first of all, it also helps you maintain your space. If you have, the more people that you have help maintain, the better it is for everyone else to help water, to help weed, to get the kids excited about it, and to also continue the activities at home. You can ask families to help with the garden and to the cooking activities. And this is a volunteer opportunity. I've many times had volunteers tell me how much they enjoy coming in to help with activities like this because they feel like they're being able to participate in the education events, but still having fun with their kids. Like I mentioned, you can offer tasting events at pickup time. Another great thing about your school garden to think about is that when you buy seeds in bulk, you will be surprised when you buy seeds in bulk how much cheaper they are than when you buy them in the small packets of individual seeds. You can buy them in bulk for not that much extra, and then you can also send seeds home with kids to eat. And you'll be surprised. Like I said, the cost per buying bulk and just repackaging is amazing. Send harvest and recipes home with the kids and provide education activities. Again, you might want to contact some local volunteers that would be interested in doing some garden education programs with your group, such as the master gardeners or garden clubs might have speakers available. So in addition to, like I mentioned, when you first start out, the size of your capacity may not be huge. So there's other ways that you can increase access to food security in addition to actually growing it yourself. You can increase the size of your garden and increase the amount of produce you're growing, but also don't forget about ideas such as partnering with a local community garden or partnering with your local farm to school programs or a local farmers market, so that in addition to the produce you're growing yourself, you can use these other resources that are helping to grow food to get more food out to your audience. So you kind of get the hook by growing it and getting the kids excited about it, but you can also expand the availability. And additional resources that we have available on our website. We also just put together a toolkit that's specifically for edible school gardens called Seeds of Success. So if you're just getting started, I would highly recommend looking at it. It's just step-by-step how to get started with your garden. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to the fun part where you guys get to see the gardens in action. We'll start with Jen, and we'll have you take it away.
Great, thank you. Now, Sarah, you'll do the advancing of the slides for me?
Yes, just tell me when to advance.
All right, perfect. So hi, everyone. My name is Jen Bagdanoff, and I'm the Center Director of the Acelero Head Start in Freehold, New Jersey. So New Jersey is a 4-season state, so growing a garden had a lot of fun new challenges for us. You can go ahead. So we knew that if we wanted to make our garden, which we called the Little Sprouts Garden, it was going to need everybody to make it work. So Just as it says here, the idea for the garden grew from a seed of a thought by a group of talented and engaged teachers. Once planted, it grew to touch our family advocates, our parents, our kids, and our communities. And 100% without all of these people helping us, it would have never worked. So I am going to be very teachery to all of you, and we're going to do a KWL. So I'm sure many of you know what the KWL is. So we're going to start off with our garden and say, what do we know? Go ahead. So this is what we know about our community. We are part of Acelero. We have provided Head Start services since 2001. In Monmouth, Middlesex County, there are 10 centers in 2 counties, and Acelero Freehold has 9 classrooms in 2 different centers located in downtown Freehold. About 80% of our families live in apartments or small housing and have little to no outdoor space. And the Freehold Main Street Center is located behind the First Baptist Church, and we share an outdoor space with the church. We have a very small playground and a mud kitchen, and then we have our garden. So this is what we also know is what not to do. So in 2015, we decided we were going to start our garden with containers in the front of the school. So we had each classroom decorate a container, and we worked with our local Dunkin' Donuts, which donated all of these containers. So if you're looking to use these 5-gallon buckets, Dunkin' Donuts is a great place to go to. However, we did not have an outside water source, which made it really, really impossible. We would have the kids go out with buckets occasionally, but it didn't work. So during 2017-18, we were given the space behind the school near the pastor's house to begin using as a garden. This took a lot of community partners. We worked with the master gardeners. We worked with a Boy Scout who was going for his final scouting, which I highly recommend because they were amazing. And we built 3 small raised beds, which you can see in this picture here, and we grabbed a couple of our containers back with us too. But then during the pandemic, our garden sat all alone. Oh, I'm sorry, can you just go back a little bit? There we go. Our garden sat all alone, and we had our virtual school. So as you can see, our little garden did not get the love that it needed during that time. But as soon as we got back, we were ready to get going, and we were so thrilled to be a grantee of the NHSA GroMoreGood. So now you can click the next picture. So this is our other school. This is just an example. I'm mostly going to be talking about the Main Street Center today, but this is our other center as well, which also has a gardening space in it. Okay, so then now that we know what we're dealing with, we know what we need, we wanted to know, so what do we wonder? So these were the questions that we came up. How can we provide a space for our students to learn and our families to feel welcomed? That was a really big thing, especially coming off of the pandemic. We wanted people to get out of their homes and back outside again. We wanted to know what we were going to grow in the garden and how can we continue learning this throughout our 4 seasons. Like I said before, we have very heavy winters here. And how do we pique the interest and involvement of staff, family, and students? So those were our big questions. So step 1, and this would be all of these steps that I'm going to share today are my things that I would not have been able to do this without. So huge tips for you guys, and I hope that they're helpful. Form a committee. Find out who likes gardening in your school and build on that. Is it the parents? Is it the teachers? Is it community partners? Whoever likes gardening, build on that, because you have to have a love for getting outside and getting dirty. Offer professional development credits and hours for any meetings or research done for all of the teachers. Let them do the fun stuff, the planting, the shopping, the harvesting, the lesson plans, getting new books. And then I took care of all the not fun stuff, which you will see soon. And encourage them to run the professional developments for the rest of the staff and for families around gardening. So this is a little bit more of the not fun stuff. This is the planning. Planning. Map out your garden and your money. So this is my map that I made just on a Word document with all the little color squares and things, just so I had my map of what we were doing. I went back to this thing 100 times just to really make sure that We were getting everything that we needed to. All right, you can go to the next one. And then my money was also, we got this money, I didn't want to waste it. I wanted to make sure that I was buying the best that I possibly could. So as you can see on the side, I made a list of all the different places where I could buy things. And then I made a list of everything that we needed and I priced each item. And then I was like, okay, how can I make our money last the longest? So I definitely encourage using spreadsheets and maps to plan out as much as you can. So these are just a couple steps with our garden committee. We decided we wanted to do a berry garden, and that would be with raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries, a flower garden with wildflowers and sunflowers, and insect homes to attract pollinators. We were gonna do an herb garden with cilantro, basil, parsley, rosemary, and lavender. We're gonna do a secret garden, and those are all things that are growing underground. So potatoes, radishes, and carrots. A tall and small green garden with Brussels sprouts, kale, and broccoli as our tall things, and cauliflower, cabbage, and lettuce as our short, stout little things. And then tomatoes and peppers of all different kinds of sizes and colors. So as I said, so you map out the garden, and then we also put on this map exactly where we were going to be planting things too. So we decided where the herbs were going to go, where the berries were going to go, how much space were we going to need for these tomato plants. And we went out and I worked really well with the master gardeners in my area who helped me figure out how things should be planted. And parent involvement. So we had our cleanup day. So as you can see here are our 3 old beds. We needed to get rid of those because we were about to start a new adventure. So we had a big cleanup day where all of our parents came. You can go through the next couple of slides. These are all of our cleanup day. Parents were great. They came, they wore their masks. We ripped our garden out. We moved furniture around. You can keep going. And this is at the other center where they were ripping out all of the weeds and all of the vines to get ready to grow. We even got the kids involved. They had a lot of fun. And then this is what it looked like after we got everything ready. We have a very beautiful ground with absolutely nothing in it. And we were ready to get that map and get started. So this is my next huge step for you is spend wisely. Tip number 1, buy in bulk. So we used local topsoil and mixed it with bags of Scott's Miracle-Gro to save some money. And it was also really fun when the truck came and just dumped all dirt in the back of the school. The kids loved it. And I would say for medium to bigger gardens, don't waste your money on the raised bed kits. There are some adorable raised bed kits out there, but I would definitely buy smaller. And if you're going to go big, I would go to Home Depot or Lowe's where they can cut the wood for you and buy cedar. Cedar is amazing and you can get an all natural sealer for it and it will last forever. And then number 3, get everyone involved. So as you can see here, the students were really thrilled to be part of building the beds and they got to use the power drill. Yes, they did, and they loved it. And we also had parents who came to help, and each one who put effort into helping made this project so much more meaningful. So you can do the next slide too. So here are a couple more of our parents who came and finished up the makings of the beds, and then they put the liner in for us and moved some soil. So our parents were amazing. Then we got the kids involved. So this was a huge part of it too. So here we are putting the soil in the beds. Once the beds were made, the kids had a lot of fun coming out and putting the soil into the bed and mixing it up. And then you can go to the next slide. The most important thing for things like that to happen with the kids though was to put it in writing. So we began our growing theme, and teachers and parents added parent involvement, outdoor activity, and learning into the garden lesson plan. So it wasn't just like, yay, we have a garden. When we have time, let's go outside. No, it was part of the plans. The teacher will set up a day for parents to join us via Zoom and read a book and talk about plants that they have at home. You can do the next slide. Here's another example. Teachers added these into their circle times. We will explore the garden today to see if anything has started to grow. We will read in the garden and plant flower seeds. So if it was in the plans, they were going to do it. Next one. And then this was, oh, yep, there we go. And then this was an activity that we started in May where we started really examining different parts. So every classroom got this, they moved this into the lesson plan. So this is an example for soil, where they were talking about soil, about composting, about insect hunts. So every week was a different part of the garden that they were exploring. And here they are reading outside. We began to do a lot more of our activities outside in the playground and in the garden. Okay. So this is definitely something that we did not plan on doing, but just kind of naturally happened. Freeholds as of 2022 was allowing families and homes to have chickens in their areas. And we were like, well, I wonder if we can do it as a school. And we could. So this was our chicken adventure. So we started off by incubating them inside the classroom. And then we put them out we have a little house that we built right out in the garden. So when you go out to the garden, their chicken coop is there too. They lived inside with us for a while after they hatched, and they got very used to the kids holding them and being around them. They were absolutely adorable, and the kids were thrilled with them. And they loved to, we would put food in the kids' hands and have the chickens come and start to eat them. So yeah, these are our babies. And then of course we got to name them. So that's Lala, Marshmallow, Ladybug, and Rainbow Lollipop Unicorn. So those are our 4 chickens. And yes, they are still here today. So you can go to the next one. So they're out in the garden, they're getting bigger, they're our teenagers now, and they've gotten very used to the kids. They run around the garden with the kids, run away from them sometimes too. But we absolutely love having them because, you can go to the next slide. Now we have eggs. So they started laying eggs for us, and we started giving the eggs to our families. And that was a huge part of this for us. So being able to take eggs, especially right now that are very expensive, and put them aside. So we would rotate from classroom to classroom, and each week, one classroom would take home all the eggs that were in our garden. And then we also began our harvest. So we did all of our planting, the kids planted inside, we did our lesson plans with the kids, we brought them outside, and we got an incredible watering system. We learned the hard way from our first time that we need a really good watering system. So definitely some of our money went to that. And our things began to grow, and it was time to harvest them. And we invited families to come in to do this with us. And they took home whatever they wanted. And we also used it inside the classroom. So here is our after picture, as I call it. So this is our after picture. We have a lot of flowers. It was an amazing experience. Our families come in daily now, especially now that they're allowed back in the classrooms post-COVID, to help us with it, and are already asking when we're going to get started with our new garden. So the last part is we wondered, and now we learned. So here are some things we learned. When the lesson plans were created and encouraged outdoor learning in the garden, the teachers became more involved. So teachers become more involved, kids become more involved, teachers get excited, kids become excited. Parents became more involved when the children were all invited to participate as well. Kids would go home and talk about the chickens, and they would talk about the flowers, and they would talk about how they tasted strawberry. Less is more. Plant what you will use. We went a little crazy our first year and planted a whole bunch of stuff. So we learned that plant what you will use. Things that the kids can pick themselves are ideal. And also everybody loves chickens. We learned that being able to have chickens in our center was a huge bonus. Not only did the kids get excited for going outside, they were a wonderful help with learning in all areas. So this was something that we learned about our berry garden. We knew that our berry garden was going to be raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries, and we will continue doing that. Flower garden, we still want to do our wildflowers. The kids had so much fun picking the wildflowers, and we're also going to become a site for the monarch butterflies as well. We're going to do an herb garden again, except we are not going to do parsley, and we're not going to do the secret garden this year because our little guys just did not have the patience for our secret garden. And also, as Sarah was saying before, it's hard for them to wait that long, especially in a 4-season environment. We needed things that grew pretty quickly. We really enjoyed the tall and small green garden. We probably won't do Brussels sprouts and kale, but we will do broccoli, and we will continue doing cauliflower and lots of lettuces. The lettuces, we also have a small indoor garden that we're gonna do lots of lettuces, lots of tomatoes, lots of peppers. More flowers equals more insects. We had so much fun exploring the insects. More tomatoes, strawberries, peppers, and things that kids can literally pick and eat. That was something that they loved. And so our next steps, we are gonna do a smaller selection of things, but we're gonna do more of it. So we're gonna do, like I said in the last slide, just a couple of things, but not quite as many things. And we're really gonna use the things that we grow to go into the parents' home so that they can use them for cooking at home. We're also going to have parent involvement from day one, and that means not only in our garden, but supplying a way for them to start doing some gardening at home as well. Create more outdoor spaces for reading and outdoor learning so parents can come and learn about how to do the gardening here and then take the garden home with them. And then continue to add gardening to our weekly lesson plans and parent involvement as well as on our weekly lesson plans. And that's it for me.
Thank you so much. So now we will turn it over to Polly.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Polly Phillips, and I work on the family engagement team at Verner Center for Early Learning in Asheville. And it's a balmy 72 degrees outside right now. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our garden. So go ahead. So who is Verner? We are an early Head Start, so we have the really littles, and then we're also a North Carolina pre-kindergarten provider, so we have 4- and 5-year-olds as well. We have a blended program which provides care for families with vouchers and those who do private pay. So at our East location, which is the one I'll be discussing today, we have an 80-20 ratio of private pay to EHS children. And our mission is to foster holistic learning environments where young children and families can thrive. So we try to take a holistic approach to just like helping the entire family. Go ahead. So the creation of VEG, which stands for Verner Experiential Garden, was created in 2015 as well, in collaboration with 3 nearby organizations. So we have Roots Hummus, which is a local business that gave us the funding to build our garden in 2015 and also contracted someone to work with us and do garden lessons. Every week, we have Warren Wilson College, which is down the road from our location. They gave us the land and also bring college students over every week to help out in our classrooms. And then North Carolina Outward Bound also helped us receive the land and is our neighbor. They also volunteer with us sometimes. So VEG is an experiential garden, not a production garden. So it's not producing things for our snack or for our kitchen, but the main objective is exploring sensory experiences and just outdoor play in general. And Verner East consists of 8 classrooms. So each classroom visits the garden at least once a week for about an hour and a half. They do a short little lesson with me, and then we let them free play and just kind of explore and do their thing out there. So the goals when we received the GroMoreGood funding was to transition from ground planting to metal raised beds. Often like the kids couldn't decipher between like pathways and beds when we were doing ground planting, and it wasn't very fun to do like a lesson when you're constantly being like, you're stepping on plants. So what we purchased for the raised beds was the Veggie raised planters, which were really cool because they come in a package like really small and you just put them together. Bulk compost and planting mix, which we did like a 50-50 split between the 2 of those and mix them together. And then we bought plant starts for fruits and veggies that cannot be directly strode into the ground. And then we wanted to remulch all our pathways as well. So we bought bulk mulch and got it delivered, and then landscape fabric and nails. And then lastly, we wanted to purchase tools for the children for them to use in the garden, which for me is the most important part, is like having ways that they can help out themselves, because then they're really like more likely to eat the food, join the activity if there's like a special tool they can use that they're not normally allowed to use in the classroom. So child-safe knives, cutting boards, stainless steel bowls, an industrial salad spinner, which was really cool because it has a huge crank at the top and they use their little muscles to clean like greens, apple peelers, mortar and pestle, child-size shovels, rakes, and hose, and then also child-size watering cans. So in the picture on the left, you have a child using a big for them metal shovel, which is designed for an adult, but once they learn how to use it correctly, I thought it was a great tool for them to use. And then on the left-hand side, you have this little girl cutting up a radish and with a child-safe knife. So they're part of that process of planting, tending, harvesting, cleaning, cutting, eating, which just is like a full circle moment. This is very cool. So just some things to keep in mind when purchasing items. So always ask for a nonprofit or a school discount. Most people will give it to you. The people we get mulch from give us a 15% discount. So that's like 40 or 50 bucks right there that you're saving. When buying tools, I suggest picking metal over plastic just because it's going to last you way longer. And it's actually going to work. Like the metal child-safe knives actually cut things really well, which is amazing. And also we're teaching about the environment, right? So you want to like use as less plastic as you can. Research free compost opportunities in your community. A lot of places have compost systems and they're looking to give it back to the community. If possible, choose metal raised beds instead of wood. These are a little bit pricier, but they're going to last you a little bit longer. And then ask universities about hosting a garden intern. We have 2 universities in our city, and we've had interns from both of them. They're fabulous. A lot of college students need some kind of internship before graduating, and there's a lot of environmental education majors. So they've been lovely and I highly suggest it. So this is what our garden looked like before the raised beds. It's a beautiful space, but it's kind of hard to tell where we're planting plants versus where you should be walking. And they were just kind of bordered by old logs that we had cut down when we were clearing the space. And then this is what it looked like after. I think it looks beautiful. We have all the raised beds. We put in kind of teepee / tent structure to grow things up. And then that picture on the very right hand is just some of the loose parts that we created for the kids down there. Wood cookies with chalk painted on them so they can draw on them, pieces of wood, tires that are repurposed for climbing, bricks, things that they can manipulate and have a really good time with. So some of the outcomes that we had from improving our garden space is the teachers just wanted to be down there more. Ours is considered a walking field trip, so it is off campus just by like a 3-minute walk. And there was more buy-in from the teachers and the parents as well. So kids would come home and talk about their positive experiences in the garden, and then there would be more involvement. So we had 4 garden socials this year and the turnout was fabulous. We provided dinner and just let people play with their kids in an outdoor space that's safe for them, designed for them. So a lot of these garden socials had like 60 people at them, which we've never had at a family engagement thing before. So that made us very happy. Secondly, we had more food just in general. So we had the giving fridge created, which is just someone donated an old refrigerator to us. We put in the hallway, and this is where I would process food and put it in the fridge for families to take home. And then the kitchen also started putting excess food into the giving fridge. So it's been a very successful project. And then lastly, children just felt very like safe, engaged, autonomous, and trusted when they're given the opportunity to be outside, use tools, create things, grow things. So our garden gives the opportunity to feel safe in an outdoor environment, which is really all we can ask for in educators. And that's it.
All right, thank you guys so much. Both of y'all's programs just so impressive, and what you guys have done with the grant money, just amazing. Rachel, do you have some questions that came in as we were going that you'd like to pass along?
We do. We have a few. We're gonna give this one to Jennifer first, and then any one of you who want to comment on this, please do. But there was a question about the garden lesson plans. Who helped to create those?
So the garden lesson plans were created by the teachers. So we are given, as an Acelero Head Start, we use the Ready to Shine curriculum. So the theme was already there. It was already a growing theme. So we had a pre-made theme, but we really took a lot out of it and put a lot more into it. And we would do that at our curriculum meetings. And we replaced a lot of the books. We replaced a lot of the activities because a lot of it went outside, and we would do that again, like as our committee, that we would go through and make it. I was the one who wrote the one about the different weekly themes for them, just to kind of add, because our garden theme only lasted a couple of weeks, and then we went into insects and spiders. But they were like, no, we want to keep learning about the garden. So we extended it into our next theme too.
Love that. Sarah, Polly, either of you want to talk curriculum?
I can just add on that we do have a number of resources on that early childhood education website that there's a link for, that's on the KidsGardening website. Some ready-made lessons that you might want to try out. So we do have some up there that you'll have a link to for sure to check out.
The curriculum that we use at our center, we have a local nonprofit that created a toolkit for us. So I often turn to that. I think a lot of communities have that we just like don't know about, farm to preschool connections. So I turn to them often. And they also give us free things a lot of the time, which I love, like free seeds.
Fantastic. Okay, so this next question I'm going to direct at Sarah first, and then Jennifer and Polly, if you have anything to add, please do. Is allergens a concern? Some children have really sensitive skin. There may be aspects to the mulch, the fertilizer, mold spores in bagged soil. So if there's a soil that you would recommend, as opposed to getting soil from the surroundings?
That's a tough question because the allergies do vary so much. You can definitely buy soil from that has been bagged up, and as long as it has been enclosed, you're usually not going to run into problems with mold and that kind of thing that you'll find in the bag. I will also say, like Jen mentioned, getting local soils. A lot of the local soils do some kind of soil testing on the soils that they provide for you. So if you're buying it from like a local dealer that deals in bulk, they'll be able to tell you a little bit about the history of their soil and the different testing that they do. So definitely look into that. I've never run into issues with soil. Potentially, there are some edibles that you might want to avoid. That depending on the kids, but you're probably already learning some about that. Like as far as once you're feeding them lunch and snacks, you probably know, like I've run into a couple of kids that are allergic to strawberries before, like there's just little things that you might run into. So yes, that's something just to note. And anytime you're going to do like a recipe out of the garden, you might want to have, to let people know ahead of time what you're going to be doing. So I guess did I answer that? I think I covered that. And there's a few. The nice thing about edibles is you don't run into as much, related to. So there's some different plants that you can have allergies to from touching the leaves and that kind of thing. So on the website, another link that we have is a link to a database in North Carolina. The North Carolina Poisonous Plant Database is an excellent tool to look at, and they have a great list of things that are poisonous. So if you're looking, if you want to, for instance, tomato leaves. So cherry tomatoes are something we grow a lot, and cherry tomatoes are not poisonous, but like tomato leaves do have, if eaten in large quantities, can be toxic. So that might be something that you're not interested in growing potentially if you're worried about. They would have to eat a lot of them. But on that plant toolkit database from North Carolina that we have linked to, you'll be able to look those up.
Thank you, Sarah. Jennifer or Polly, anything to add?
I would just say all organic. Like we just got we got the topsoil, and then what we mixed in with it was like organic. We just didn't use a lot of fertilizers. But no, I've never had a problem with a child getting an allergic reaction from soil. Not yet.
Right. Okay, next question. In regards to doing these kind of special activities, what about permission slips, health and safety reviews? Anything special that you had to do for that? Jennifer or Polly, either one.
Yeah, I'll start. It's a pretty, like, well, with all Head Starts, the application process is quite intense. But in that application process, for the child joining the school, we learn a lot about the families, and with our wonderful family advocates, we learn a lot about their allergies and health concerns and things like that. So we do a lot in our home visits as well, talking about, you know, what are some things that you might be concerned about with your child going outside. We had a lot of kids who were very scared of bugs, and that was something that we overcame by just having them out there. But as far as them getting stung or getting bitten, that we never had any issues or problems with that. We did have a couple of kids we were nervous about when we got the chickens, if the feathers from the chicken would be an allergen, and we went through all of our health forms and just made sure if we ever needed a permission slip for anything, we would just make one up, especially for like photographs and things like that. We made up the photograph form to go along with it and sent it home to all of our parents.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the care of the chickens is one of the big eyebrow raisers, to be like, does that involve special permissions? Did you have any parents who were concerned about their kids being exposed to the chickens, or?
Just not health and safety wise, more just, you know, they might be scared of the chickens. But the good thing was, since they knew the chickens, since they were so tiny and saw them grow, they were just like, oh, that's the same tiny chicken. And the chickens raised around the kids we've never had the chickens snip or bite at any of the kids. They're very, very gentle with them.
Fantastic. So Polly, anything to add on that one?
Yeah, like Jennifer's saying, Head Start does a lot of preemptive data collection in your enrollment forms. So just looking at that, and also like our nutrition director, there's a lot of kids with allergies at our school. They have this wonderful little spreadsheet that I just turn to often before we do any kind of cooking thing. But most allergies are kind of from processed things like milk and stuff like that. So it's not too much of a concern.
Great. Okay, we have one additional question. If you have any other questions that you haven't put in the chat yet, now is your chance. We do still have a few minutes. So this question is, if a program is part of the CACFP program, how, if at all, does growing your own food adjust the program? Are either of you involved in that?
So we are CACFP. And pretty much what we did, we were using most of our food to go home to the families. If we were using them at all in the school, it would be part of the lesson plans, and we would have to do a cooking experience form to allow the food to be, and that was approved by our nutritionist and allowed to be in the classroom. The one thing I will say is something we're going to change for next year too, and I don't know if Polly found this too, but we did not grow enough of anything to make like a harvest, because we just grew a little bit of everything so the kids could just kind of taste and experiment and, you know, explore. I don't think we had enough that we could be like, let's have a meal. So it was never really like replacing lunch or replacing breakfast or replacing a snack.
Yeah, we've never grown enough for supplying the kitchen. That would be like 40 pounds of something. So ours is like nibble, taste test, and there's kind of a little loophole with ours because it is a walking field trip. It's off campus. So it's technically unlicensed. We have a little bit more freedom. I mean, it's all still safe and healthy, but we don't exactly have to follow the same regulations as if we're in the classroom. When I'm in the classroom, most of the time it's winter when I'm not growing things. So I just get like cooking experience things from the kitchen. And they deal with all of that kind of thing.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we have just a few minutes left. I think we've covered all the questions that came in. If anybody has any additional, Sarah, do you have you want to pull up your contact information slide? I'm going to make you scroll back
Sure.
through.
Yeah, I think we had a couple more slides on here.
Oh, sure. Go ahead. Let's tell them about all the gardening things we got coming.
Yes, so we do have a garden story time that will be attended by Pinky and our other education specialist, Noelle, and they will be reading a book together that you can bring your class to and watch and come up with some spring gardening ideas. We also have our Gardening with Basics course. So if you're looking for some real in-depth information about planning a garden program, that's what this is. So it's a 4 module course designed to really give you some in-depth information on that. And we also have an archive of the past webinars. It looks like there's not a slide on that. So in addition to that, so we have a number that are archived. And so here is an email. If you have some additional questions, feel free to email us and we will get back to you.
Okay, thanks so much for coming, everybody. I hope that this has spurred big ideas and you remember to start small. There's always room to grow. Thanks so much.